Hello, good afternoon. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. I am Emedion James. Literally, everyone is wondering, what does it take to change the course of a war that has shaken the world? Is it a handshake in the icy air of Alaska, or perhaps a round table in the halls of power in Washington, where the fate of millions hangs in a balance? This week, the world watched as President Donald Trump sat face-to-face with Vladimir Putin, a moment heavy with history and uncertainty. No agreement was signed, but the echoes of what meeting rippled across the continent. Today on Worldview, we take you inside these hard talks, shaping the future of Ukraine and the global peace. This is Worldview on Spectrum TV. Let's begin. We do a quick recap of all that happened from August 15, 2025. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met at a joint base El Moldov, Richardson, Anchorage to discuss a peace deal concerning the war in Ukraine. Let's take a listen to what Putin had to say.
On the phone, and special envoy of the president, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time, and you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict, and his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation. However strange it may sound in these conditions, we have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict, and we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that.
Trump called the meeting extremely productive, with many points agreed to. Yet he emphasized that there is no deal until there is a deal.
Productive meeting. There were many points that we agreed on, most of them I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelenskyy and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Rad.
Despite the ceremonial optic and nice words, no ceasefire or agreement on Ukrainian sovereignty or security was announced. Putin received this platform as a diplomatic victory, even without formal concessions. Trump himself reiterated that real negotiations must involve Ukraine directly. In the meantime, critics described the meeting as a diplomatic failure, or was a symbolic win for Putin and a diplomatic misstep by Trump. Let's come back now to Washington, D.C., where, in the days following the Alaska summit, President Trump convened another key diplomatic gathering in Washington, D.C., bringing together President Zelenskyy, top European leaders including President Macron of France, Friedrich Merz, Chancellor or President of Germany, President of European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Italian leader Giorgia Meloni, Alexander Stubb, President of Finland, Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of United Kingdom, and Mark Rutte, NATO's representative, to discuss Ukraine's security and peace strategy. This meeting was marked by gratitude diplomacy. Zelenskyy repeatedly thanked Trump 9 times in the first minute to rebuild rapport after earlier frictions. He praised Trump's peace efforts and also thanked First Lady Melania Trump for her letter to Putin addressing kidnapped Ukrainian children.
We had very good conversation with President Trump.
Very good.
And it really was the best one, maybe the best one will be in the future. But it was really good. And we spoke about very sensitive points. The first one is security guarantees, and we are very happy with President that all the leaders are here, and the security in Ukraine depends on the United States and on you and on those leaders who are with us in our hearts. They have been online before yesterday, and etc. So a lot of countries on the side of Ukraine, our people, and all of us want to finish this war, stop Russia and stop this war. We spoke about it, and we will speak more about security guarantees. I was very thankful to your wife again, Mr. President, for the letter about our abducted children, and I hope that really it can be a historic role for the people to bring kids back to the families and be happy.
Get the people back, yeah?
Yes, this is so important, and I'm happy that we discussed it, this track with the President Trump, and I hope that we will find decisions. And then what is very important.
Discussions centered on crafting security guarantees, arm deals, and planning future trilateral talks that could include Putin in it.
President of the United States, dear Donald, for the fact that you, as I said before, broke the deadlock with President Putin by starting that dialogue. And I think it was in February that you had the first phone call, and from there we are now where we are today. And that is, I think, if we play this well, we could end this. And we have to end this. We have to stop the killing. We have to stop the destruction of Ukraine's infrastructure. It is a terrible war. So I'm really excited.
Now we are here to work together with you on a just and lasting peace for Ukraine. Stop the killing. This is really our common interest, stop the killing. And indeed, it's very good to hear that we're working on the security guarantees, Article 5 lies security guarantees, so important. But I want to thank you also that you mentioned the thousands of Ukrainian children that have been abducted. And as a mother and grandmother, every single child has to go back to its family. This should be one of our main priorities also in these negotiations, to make sure that the children come back to Ukraine, to their families.
We all would like to see a ceasefire, the latest from the next meeting on. I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that, and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking today are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next
A hot mic moment revealed candid Trump's comment, underscoring the informal dynamics underlying formal diplomacy. A sense of cautious optimism, while not bidding ceasefire or binding had anything to do with this. We also saw Sergei Lavrov, special advisor to Russian president, talk down on the ceasefire agreement. Let's take a listen.
About how Russia unprovokedly attacked Ukraine, that it's all well, childish babble. I can't find another word. The main thing is that they continue to say this and continue, as their meeting in Washington with President Trump showed. Chancellor Merkel continued to state that pressure should be put on Russia with sanctions. None of these gentlemen even mentioned the phrase human rights. If you look respectively at what they have said about Ukraine over all these years, you will not find the phrase human rights even once, although a complete ban on the Russian language in all spheres of human activity caused outrage among these champions of democratic principles. Nothing of the sort. And the fact that this is the only country in the world where any language is banned doesn't bother anyone either. And when they say, well, yes, we might have to agree to exchange territories, someone among them said something like that. But first of all, Zelenskyy himself should decide this. Secondly, we will deploy a peacekeeping operation armed forces, in the form of peacekeepers. Let's not forget that Zelenskyy said in Washington, oh yes, I would be ready to negotiate. I won't even discuss any territories there because the Constitution forbids me.
In the meantime, the U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he had ruled out putting U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine, but said the United States might provide air support as part of a deal to end Russia's war in the country. This came a day after Trump pledged security guarantees to help end the war at an extraordinary White House summit.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved. There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved. There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
In a sad development, Ukraine's Prime Minister said today at least 14 people, including a family with 3 children, were wounded in an overnight Russian attack on Ukraine's northern region of Sumy. The strike took place at a time of intense efforts by U.S. President Donald Trump to bring an end to the Russian war in Ukraine. Russia launched 15 drones in an assault on the Oktega area in the early hours of today, local prosecutors said on a Telegram message in Arv. Meanwhile, the Moscow-installed governor said that a Ukrainian drone attack late on Tuesday knocked out power to areas of Ukraine's Zaporizhia region under Russian control. Russian forces hold well over half of Zaporizhia region in Ukraine's southeast. But Kiev maintains control of the region's main administrative center, and its attacks have periodically knocked out electricity in the Russia-held areas. Let's turn our attention now to the Israel and Gaza war scene, where Israel is currently reviewing a response from Hamas to a proposal calling for a 60-day ceasefire and the release of approximately half of the hostages still held in Gaza. The potential breakthrough comes amid a renewed push by international mediators to bring an end to months of devastating conflict. One of the officials, however, emphasized that for the war to formally end, all Israeli hostages must be released, reiterating a long-standing condition set by the Israeli government. Mediators from Egypt and Qatar, with backing from the United States, have been actively working to revive stalled negotiations. The proposed ceasefire plan aims to pause the fighting and pave the way for broader discussions on a long-term resolution. While both sides have remained publicly cautious, the involvement of key regional and international players have raised hopes for a possible temporary de-escalation in the ongoing conflict. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the United States continues to discuss a ceasefire proposal for a 60-day truce in Gaza between Israel and Hamas that the Palestinian militant group has accepted. Let's take a listen.
I think it's a coincidence that Hamas accepted this proposal after the President of the United States posted a very strong statement about this conflict on Truth Social yesterday. I would refer you back to that statement. As for this proposal that Hamas has now accepted, the United States continues to discuss it, and I'll let the President weigh in on it definitively.
What is the 60-day proposal all about? The proposal included several critical interwoven elements. First, a partial Israeli troop withdrawal from Gaza over the 60-day period. Second, a hostage prisoner exchange. Hamas would release half of the remaining Israeli hostages, often cited as 10 live captive and 18 bodies, while Israel would free around 200 Palestinian prisoners, including women and minors. Thirdly, a significant increase in humanitarian aid spearheaded by the UN and Red Crescent. Crucially, the ceasefire would become a window for negotiating a permanent truce. However, Hamas accepted the proposal, a notable shift in tone from past standoffs. But the acceptance came with caveat. Disarmament and recognition of Palestinian statehood remained non-negotiable for them. Israel, while reviewing the proposal, kept its demand firm. All remaining hostages must be released, not just half. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faced stiff pressure from hardline coalition members who rejected partial concessions, complicating motions towards acceptance. The proposal isn't a victory yet. Disagreement persists over key points. Israel insists on Hamas disarmament, leadership exile, and full hostage return. Hamas holds firm on statehood and control over Gaza. Political divisions within Israel and Hamas could still derail the deal. As of today, the world watches anxiously. Israel is studying Hamas' response, but whether this 60-day window becomes a stepping stone to lasting peace or collapses into further conflict remains to be seen. In the meantime, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese today played down Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu's pointed condemnation of his decision to recognize a Palestinian state, saying he treated the leaders of other countries with respect.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and met with him over the phone. We had a long discussion prior to the Cabinet meeting which was held last Monday morning. At that time I gave Prime Minister Netanyahu a clear indication of my view, and Australia's view is to represent the Australian national interest, and I think that Australians very much want two things to happen. One, they want people to stop killing each other, whether it be Israelis or Palestinians. Second thing that they want is for conflict to not be brought here. That is the way that I engage. That's the way I engage with other leaders internationally as well, including last night. The discussion I had participated in a coalition of the willing discussion with other democratic leaders convened by President.
Still in Israel, an Israeli military official said today that Israel will call up 50,000 reservists planned before an offensive to take over Gaza City. The largest urban center would be active duty soldiers. The military officials said that the call-up notices could be sent in the coming days, with reservists to report for duty in September. The reservists who are called up could be in the Air Force, intelligence or supporting roles, or replace active duty soldiers stationed outside Gaza, the officials said. And that's all we have for you on Worldview today. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website at spectrumtvlive.ng. I am Emedion James and you've been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.